We're honored today to be joined by Dr. Ron Paul. He is a former congressman and past presidential nominee. He is currently the host of the Ron Paul Liberty Report, and he's had a very interesting and storied career in Congress. We'll be talking about his career and what he thinks is going to happen to not just the future of the U.S. economy, but the future of the world as well. Welcome to the show, Dr. Paul. It's always an honor to host you. Welcome back.
David, it's great to be with you again.
Thank you very much. I want to start by talking about your views of the world and geopolitical risks. You were on the Tucker Carlson show recently, and I believe, if I have the quote right, you said that World War III is at the doorstep. I want to know what you mean by that. If you could please elaborate on that quote.
Well, I would probably moderate that because the doorstep sounds like I predict that a World War III is going to break out tomorrow. But I think we're constantly at war because we've declared war, I guess, to people, because I think what happened, in the way I describe it, I think there's been a coup in this country beginning way back, but certainly in the 1960s. We don't have a justice system, and therefore our country really is run in secrecy. When you have an organization like a CIA, that they can act outside the system, and they've proven to do this, FBI as well. And I think right now we continue to move in that direction, but the people who really are pulling the strings are the ones who endorse and understand what the empire is all about. Because I believe that we operate an empire, because most Americans, even who aren't very much involved, believe we have more authority and a responsibility to take care of the world.
Okay, well, Dr. Paul, even though you may not be predicting World War III to be happening imminently, the concept of a World War III involves a U.S. at war with an adversary. So who do you consider America's top adversaries or competitors, even in the political sphere internationally right now?
Well, I tell you what, it's not foreign. We take an oath to obey, the defense of this country, both foreign and domestic. I don't lay awake worrying about the Chinese invading us. I don't worry about the Russians invading us. I worry about what our government's doing, and that's where the real problem is. But so I can't pick one military force because we precipitate so many problems ourselves. And if one thing is settled, we go looking for some more trouble. And I was much more optimistic when the Cold War ended, but things have deteriorated since then.
Before we continue our discussion with Dr. Paul, we're going to pause for a brief word from our sponsor, Notion. Are you worried about artificial intelligence replacing your job? According to a 2023 IBM report, people who use AI will replace people who don't. The report forecasts that 4 in 10 workers could face disruptions due to AI by the year 2028. Now, don't be replaced by AI, of course. Instead, use AI to boost your productivity, making you irreplaceable. Notion AI is here to help you with just that. Notion is a workflow software which harnesses the power of AI to make you more efficient, allowing you to complete time-consuming projects within seconds, so you have more time for managing your investments or watching your favorite YouTube programs. Notion AI will, with a single click, fix your spelling and grammar mistakes, shorten paragraphs, explain technical jargon, and even generate high-quality translations. Notion never uses your data without your explicit consent, thus protecting your privacy. Let's suppose that you are investing in a company and you want a summary of its financial statement. Just run the financial statement through Notion's AI and look at the result. No longer do you have to pour through pages and pages of financial data in order to determine how you'd value a company. If you're stuck, just use Notion AI's new Q&A feature, which functions like your own personal assistant. Q&A goes beyond traditional AI chatbots by understanding your business, including previous decisions and meeting notes, to provide accurate and relevant answers. What are some articles in my reading list that mention market rallies, for example? Summarize all of the important points from last Friday's meeting. The Notion Q&A feature is included in all existing Notion AI subscriptions. Get started with Notion AI for only $10 per month. And if you don't have Notion AI yet, then join today and you'll be added to the waitlist to get early access to Q&A. If you're ready to unlock the power of AI for your business, job, or personal scheduling, then just click on the link below and subscribe. Again, don't be replaced by AI or those who know how to use AI. Start using Notion today. Well, you brought up sound money in the economy, so let's move to the economy now. Let's talk about the U.S. economy in particular. Some economists say that the Federal Reserve doesn't need to lower interest rates this year because the economy is doing quite well and there's no signs of a recession just yet, and that monetary tightening at this point is unnecessary, or further tightening, rather, is unnecessary. Where do you stand?
I don't think anybody knows the answer to that, because the interest rates is the most important price in a free market. You should have a sound currency, no inflation, no fiat. It should be backed, and the market should dictate the interest rate. But once you get in this, it's sort of a silly game they're playing. Well, should the interest rate be 3.8 or 4.2 or something like that? They don't know that, and then they play a game where they try to influence the market by 2 or 3 words or a phrase that the Federal Reserve Board chairman says, and then he can move the market for trillions of dollars just because I'm going to raise the interest rates 4 times next year. Or no, I don't think that's a good idea. I think we better lower interest rates. And we have to pay attention to, stocks, and we have to pay attention to the political system. The Federal Reserve is very political. They do pay attention to whoever's in charge. And right now, I think they may be maneuvering to help the president. Generally, they do that. But no, I would never be tempted to say, that I know what the interest rate should be. I could guess. I'd like to play the game really of, if we eliminated the authority of the Federal Reserve to buy government debt, we could not monetize any government debt, what would the interest rate be? I think that'd be fascinating. I personally think it would be much higher. And they said, well, that would be very bad. How do you know? Maybe if that's what the market needs, maybe you'll have more growth, not less growth. So that's the reason I don't postulate about interventionism. What's the best place to intervene? Which side should you take in Ukraine or Gaza and all these places? Because most of the time, anybody outside that area, they don't know what's best. I just think what's best for Americans is to become more non-interventionist and have a sound currency and mind our own business.
Do you think we're getting a recession this year or next year, Dr. Paul?
Well, I think I could find you a lot of people into the tens of thousands who are in a recession. We have more people living on the streets than we've ever had, and it keeps getting worse. So a lot of people are in a recession because of their cost of living. But what have they done? They've borrowed to the hilt and they tied themselves over, but they're kidding themselves. Everybody's kidding themselves because it's all built on debt. And it's the debt issue that will finally bring our government down, because it's bringing the people down right now. And yet they will give you numbers. Well, the stock market's doing real well, and they'll give you these positive things. And they'll say, well, we're having trouble with our schools. Well, we'll send you more money, and we will make sure we have a perfect school system. And our school system is in shambles. The more the federal government's been involved in our school system, the worse things get. And it's been the influence by progressivism, throughout the last 100 years on our major universities that have given so many people the education that they're used while serving in the government, whether they're in Congress or whatever. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about what it says about gold and silver and legal tender. So they just march on and do it and think it'll last forever, and they're getting away with it because there's so many bad problems in the world. The dollar is still pretty good. They still take the dollar, but that'll end. But it's eroding. The trust in us running our foreign policy and the financial system is going downhill, and there will be a conclusion where the other people will decide we've given up on the American system.
People are concerned about the mounting debt levels in the U.S. The Congressional Budget Office themselves are projecting debt to continue to climb. They said that the U.S. debt will reach 166% of GDP in 2054. remaining on track to increase thereafter. They also said in the same year, the CBO claims that the federal deficit will reach 8.5% of GDP. Dr. Paul, are these actual concerns? If you look around the world at our peers, Singapore has a high debt to GDP ratio. Japan's debt to GDP ratio is over 250%. Italy's is over 140%. And so when you compare it to some of these other countries, the U.S. looks relatively, debt-free, so to speak, as a percentage of GDP. Yes.
I'd hate to depend on the fact that things, will climax in 2054. I think it's going to happen a lot sooner. I think we're in the middle of it. It's already started, the deterioration, and it's going to continue. I mean, right now, they're wondering, well, how are we going to pay for the bridge? The bridge went down in Maryland, and we have to take care of it. So we're assured the federal government will take care of it. Where's the federal government going to get the money? Oh, we print it. There's no problem at all. Oh, good. We thought we'd have to pay for it or something. So it's a fiction that they think that they could do this forever. And I don't think you can compare the United States as major of a system that they have, because people's trusting in us is a big deal when they lose trust in us. If you lose trust in some peso from some other country, it's going to hurt that country, but it's not going to, spread like it'll happen. Like ours is spreading right now. It's confidence in the dollar that is being eroded, and it's going to get a lot worse. It could happen this year, or it might take 5 years, but it's not going to be 2050. It'll happen before that.
So what you're saying is one of the end results of mounting debt is the erosion of the trust of the dollar. Somebody submitted a good question to me, Dr. Paul, and the question is there a level of debt in which the system starts to break down, the monetary system starts to break down and show real cracks? Do you think that we're there yet?
No, you can't calculate it because, in a system that's operating, prices are set. It's called the subjective theory of value. You can look at all the numbers and you can predict that, well, if they keep printing money, the value of the dollar is going to go down. But you can't have a calculation and say, well, if you go up 20% or 100%, that the people are going to react. I mean, look how quickly and how high it went in World War II. But the people didn't react because subjectively they said, we'll get out of this. It's going to work and the conditions work. So it is that decision subjectively means emotions, what's happening in all the areas. What happens if the war gets out of control? And what happens if our immigration problems that we have here, it becomes much more chaotic? And what happens if our political system, the election system, gets worse because it became pretty bad? 80% of the American people don't even believe the government when they tell us something, and that's justifiable. I think that's good news. People are waking up.
Okay. You brought up sound money several times. My viewers would like to understand what you believe is sound money. Specifically, they want to know if you think Bitcoin could be a new form of sound money that the government can adopt in some way.
Well, as far as using crypto or a fiat currency, no, I don't think that's going to happen. But my position there is, we need a system. If you're in a free market and you want to do that and test it, people should be allowed to do it, because I don't know the answer. I don't even understand it all. But people who think that, the world's going to use Bitcoin for the rest of the world, and it will never be debased and all that kind of stuff, go ahead and try it, but it has to be voluntary. But I don't want our government doing it. I think the government should do what the Constitution said. Nothing but gold and silver can be legal tender.
How do you define sound money? In other words, what criteria need to be met for something to be classified as sound money?
Well, I think in our case, since we live in the United States, that we follow the law of the United States. So you'd have to start with auditing the Fed, discovering what's really going on and who gets the benefits, because we're having more and more billionaires and even trillionaires coming along the way. we should investigate it. And then when people find out what they're really doing and prices are skyrocketing, then the people will have to say enough is enough, and they're going to quit. But that isn't here yet. One number that I watch and I find interesting just because it entertains me is, I keep talking about legal tender. What does the government say? What did the Monetary Act of 1792? It established silver as the main currency, but also talked about gold. But when our country started, gold was essentially $20 an ounce. And for a while they made plans, they made gold illegal in the Depression, and it stayed at $20 for a long time until the Depression, when they made it $35 an ounce artificially. But it wasn't until after gold got re-legalized in the 70s. In 1975, gold was going for originally 20. It went to $200 in 1975. That's a tenfold jump. They added a zero. And then the next zero was added this past year. That was $2,000. And believe me, there's going to be another zero in our lifetime, and that'll be tenfold. So you say, well, it can't be tenfold. That's impossible. But it did it. It went from 20 to 200 to 2,000. Even I, when we first saw the breakdown at Bretton Woods, gold was 30. We weren't allowed to own it, but it was $35 an ounce. And and then one day when Bretton Woods broke down, it went up to $100. And a lot of us would talk and say, boy, maybe they'll remonetize. And there was talk at $150 they would remonetize it. But here we are at $2,000. And it could be now, what I'm saying, it could be 20,000.
We have a few minutes left, so I want to close off on a few domestic policy issues. So first of all, as you may be aware, a bill was recently moved to Congress, actually passed by the House of Representatives, to ban TikTok. TikTok is a Chinese-owned social media company, the fifth largest by user base in the U.S., around the world actually. More than 130 million Americans use TikTok. If it passes the Senate, then President Biden would have to sign off on it. But basically, it's getting banned in the U.S. Do you approve of this policy?
No. I mean, I don't know what crime they've charged.
They've been accused of being a vessel of siphoning American users' data to the Chinese government.
Yeah, about how many? I think the Fed does that every day. So no, I will punish them for that. But that isn't the case. The case here is regulating everybody's computer. They're going to regulate everybody that has a website. That isn't open-ended. That's a horrible bill. If anybody wants to really go to this, they could check up on my son, who's done a lot of research on this, who's in the Senate. And he has pointed out some pretty powerful points. And as a matter of fact, he would challenge your first sentence, I think, because when people say Chinese owns this, there's a lot of people in this United States that own this too. I think we're fearful of competition. I think that's the biggest motivation. And there's a lot of fraudulent things going on. Now, how about the fraudulent stuff in the buying and selling of silver and gold? I believe that. I don't believe there's a real free market there. Government manipulates, a lot of other people do, and that's why. No, I think a bill like what outlaw on TikTok is foolish and very dangerous to our civil liberties.
Okay. AI. So AI is being obviously spread and developed at a fast pace. People are concerned about artificial intelligence taking our jobs, Dr. Paul. And in fact, Goldman Sachs and other think tanks are projecting that millions upon millions of jobs around the world will be lost over the next few years as a result of AI. People have proposed several solutions. Is UBI one such solution to this problem, universal basic income?
Well, I don't know everything about AI, but I saw so much artificial intelligence in Washington. I don't think we need any more. But once again, those things can be guided by the protection of civil liberties, protection of contract, and protection of property rights. But yes, it's imperfect. But when governments control all of that, it's a mob rule because it's the people who do it secretly, who control the money and manipulate it. So I don't think that that they should be restrained. AI, let the markets tell us. I talk to more and more people now that are sick and tired of some of it. And one thing is somebody told me a story the other day. I says, that's fraud. What they were doing, all this mimicking, faking. So I would regulate it by laws against fraud, but nothing else.
Now, Dr. Paul, final question for you. You've spent more than 20 years in Congress. You've ran for president twice. You've spoken numerous times at college campuses, and you've influenced several generations throughout your career. You're now running your own show, the Liberty Report. What would you consider your proudest achievement to date?
Well, the end of what I'm going to say is unknown, but it's the one that I think is most important, and that is developing a homeschooling program, because you can't get history out of our universities. You can't get economics out of our university. So I have a homeschooling program, which is now growing quite readily, and I think that's important. But I don't make claims like that. My goal is for education. I tell people, and I'm sincere, I never had a goal to be a politician or to become chairman of the banking committee and really do some good. That was just a tool for me to express myself. And I'm very pleased because it was because when I started, there was no way I thought I was going to go to Congress because I was going to say, I'm not going to vote for any benefit. I'm going to vote for liberty. And then I said, I'm going to vote that way because then they'll never reelect me. And lo and behold, I found there's still a lot of people who love the idea of personal liberty, and I'm pleased with that.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Paul. Where can we follow your work right now and learn from the Liberty?
LibertyReport.com, and I have a live stream program at 11 Central Time, and we have guests frequently, so it'd be great. We work real hard at that. It's involved all current events, but we also get into education.
Okay, we'll put the link down below, so make sure to follow the Liberty Report. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Paul. An honor once again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David.